Well, good morning, everybody. If you're in the UK or the EU, good afternoon. My name is Nate Rowlan. I'm with Thrive, and you've joined our LinkedIn Live session. Get your learners to smash those like buttons. I hope you're excited. I hope you're hyped up. I have the biggest cup of coffee I could find, so definitely getting my caffeine in. Hopefully, you're doing the same. If it's afternoon, no excuses. It's past that lunch hour. Post-lunch slump, so grab a cup of tea or whatever you need to get psyched up. But yeah, this is a fully interactive session, meaning I really want to see comments come over. So whether you're joining us on LinkedIn Live, over on YouTube Live, please definitely share some comments, share your thoughts, ask questions. I'm going to ask you questions. So make sure your fingers are all like loosened up and ready to type some stuff out. So we want to make it engaging. We want to, do exactly what we're talking about today, which is get you to smash the like and subscribe button as well. So I want to make sure that you're engaged, that this is active, and everybody is fully participating. So that's my little run-up spiel. Yeah, this is all about learner engagement. So if that's a topic that you're either passionate about, curious about, if it's something that your organization needs more of, you're in the right place. This is the right conversation. This is really the tip of the iceberg. So hopefully this opens doors for you to have even more conversation. Another thing that I would call out is look at the chat. Look at what other people are typing. Engage with other people. If someone writes a comment and you're like, oh, that's a great comment, request them, add them to your network, build your network out. That's obviously what LinkedIn is all about. So the people that are going to be on this call are going to be like-minded people. Connect with them, connect with other people that are part of the Thrive team. We love to interact with you. So yeah, definitely do that. Without any further ado, I'm just going to jump right in and let's start talking about this topic. Get your learners to smash those like buttons. So the whole premise of this title comes from this sort of call to action that if you or anyone if you have kids especially, if they're watching YouTube, you're going to hear that phrase repeated over and over again. So I have a 9-year-old. If you saw a hype video that came out yesterday, he was popping up here next to me. And dude watches nonstop YouTube videos. And I'm always hearing, make sure to click that like button, make sure to subscribe. It's, for them, that's that call to action that is getting people to engage. And obviously, if you're doing it in YouTube, you're trying to generate revenue, right? So it's that call to action that's getting people engaged. And I want to dig into the science of that because it really made me think like, okay, yes, I understand from a monetary standpoint why they do that. They're getting my kid invested, but what's the science behind that? There has to be some reason that this actually works and that it would be monetized. So that's really kind of where this topic came from, and that hopefully gives you a little bit of background behind the title and why we're talking about it today. So I'm going to start off with a question for you guys, and this is, after everything that we could be talking about. Why do you think we're still talking about learning engagement? So that's my question for you guys. Use the chat to respond. I want to hear what you have to say. Why do we in learning and development in 2023, why are we still talking about learning engagement? What are your thoughts? What are your opinions? What's your hot take on that? Let me know in the chat. So this is no holds barred, any answer, right? Just share it with me. And let's see what you have to say. Why do we talk about learning engagement? I'll give you guys just a moment to get some replies in. Already seeing that people need the caffeine just like me. Yep. So why do we talk about learning engagement? Did the video restart or is there something in my coffee? Not sure, Daniel. Checking in on that real quick. So looks like there may have been a technical glitch. So if you're experiencing any kind of glitch where it looks like the video has restarted or the session's restarted, go ahead and refresh, and that will get you caught up. So hit refresh. I'm going to ask the question again. So I'll give you a second. Hit that refresh button. Thanks, Steph. Thanks, Haley, for both responding with that. Okay, good. Refreshing has worked. Okay, so here's the question I'm asking. Why do we, in learning and development, why are we talking about learning engagement still? So use the chat. I want to see your answers. Why are we talking about learning engagement? Why is that still a topic worth talking about in 2023? So I'll give you just a moment. I want to hear your answers or read your answers. So let's see what you have to say about that. Hopefully everybody's technical issues are fixed. All right, Steph, because it matters, learners need to see the value in learning to be engaged. Yep, they have to see value. Value is very, very important. If a learner can't see value, if you can't understand the what's in it for me, yeah, you're not going to be engaged. And I definitely sat through training that I had no clue what the what's in it for me was. Joe, yeah, there's still far to go. I agree. There's a long way to go, I think, for a lot of L&D professionals. Lots of people who aren't engaged, time restraints. Yep. Always talking about what they've always done. Yeah, I think that comes up over and over again. Businesses, they want revolutionary, amazing learning and development. You may start a new job there, and that's how they sell you. And then as soon as you get in there, all you're told is they want to keep doing it the way they've always done it. That's definitely happened to me multiple times in my careers. It makes you want to slam your head against the desk. So yeah, there's a lot of work still to be done when it comes to learning engagement. I think we all have sat through incredibly boring training or training that we didn't understand that what's in it for me, where we didn't perceive value. We didn't understand why we're having to do it. And yeah, it's frustrating and it makes you check out, especially if it's like a read and click. Another answer here, the way we learned has changed. Yep, relying on LMS programs. Employees now have more accountability for the way they learn. Yep. Learning, our wider world is constantly evolving. Yep. The world is evolving. Technology evolves. The way people interact with technology and interact with learning products, it is continually changing, or at least if it's not changing, it's advancing and maturing and evolving. So all those are really good answers. So then going back to just another simple question, we know a little bit about learning engagement. What is the actual goal then of learning? What is it we are, as learning professionals, what is it that we're actually trying to accomplish? So the question is, and again, use that chat. You guys are doing an excellent job. What's the goal of learning? Like, why do we do it? Or what's the whole point of this? Why do we all have jobs? What's the goal of learning? So go ahead and use the chat. Let me know what your thoughts are here. Again, there's no wrong or right answers to this. This is all about your thoughts, your opinions. It helps me understand kind of where you're at, so we can continue to have a good conversation this morning. Russell, I agree with you. I think you're responding to that previous question about learning engagement, that it matters. There's inconsistencies across organizations. That's absolutely true. And those inconsistencies as a consumer, so I'm thinking about my experience as a consumer. If you're going into a business that has multiple locations, So you could pick a bank, you could pick McDonald's, you could pick Starbucks, any sort of business that we're used to going to on a regular basis, and you're seeing inconsistencies in customer service or their procedure. So if you go and you get burnt chicken nuggets, which is like, that's the crime of all crimes in my house. If you get bad chicken nuggets and you're like, why is this McDonald's? Why can't they do it right? That's frustrating. So that inconsistency is big. All right, we have a lot of answers coming through. So, yep. So Steph, your clients, they want to have an impact on behavioral change and performance. Exactly where my mind's at that behavior change. Monica, if you stop learning, you start dying. I think that's incredibly true. There's a quote from Ray Kroc, who, going back to another McDonald's reference, he's the guy that really kicked off the whole franchise thing with McDonald's. He says, if you're green, you're growing. If you're ripe, you rot. And to me, that's this idea that, like, when you're in that green stage, you're growing, you're changing, you're evolving. But when you see like a red ripe tomato, that thing's ready to be diced up, sliced up. It's done. It's at the end of its life cycle. So we want to stay green, right? So the goal of learning is to just be continually developing ourselves, to achieve new skills, like Jennifer Thompson said, Alessandra, to evolve. Getting some agreement with you, Monica. Michael, taking the next step, progressing, staying relevant. Yeah, relevancy, right? It used to be skills and things like that would last you almost your entire career, or at least like 30 years used to be the number. And now we've shrunk that down to, 5 or 2.5 years, where people are having to upskill or reskill themselves. Staying relevant is really, really important. Hopefully improve an aspect of your life, whether it's work, personal. Yep, you got to keep growing. And I agree. I think there's that personal side as well. Joe, everyone has different goals and reasons to learn. Ultimately, it's to grow and evolve the world around us. Yes, and we want to see the world around us continue to improve as well. It's the what's in it for me, but it's also what's in it for the people around me, my family, my friends, my community, the world at large. How can we continue to make this a better place? Learning plays a key role in all of that. Thank you guys. Awesome answers and participation this morning. So really, I think kind of the key of this is like the Drake meme is perfect. It's not about knowing stuff. It's about changing people's behaviors. So, you think about what most business requests are. And I've spent a lot of time either being an L&D leader or, in an L&D role, where the ask is to have people know stuff. And I'm like, knowing something doesn't mean anything. People know a lot of things and don't do anything differently because of it. People have known for a very long time that smoking is bad, but the behavior change side to stop smoking is actually very, very difficult. And it doesn't come just from knowledge, right? Behavior change is more challenging. But the end goal, really, if we think about learning, is we really want people to do stuff differently. Even if it's a simple task or procedure, we're asking them, you're doing it this way today. We want you to do it this way tomorrow. What is the gap? What does it take to get them there? So that's really the goal of learning, right? We are tasked, and I'm not going to say all learning, but as learning and development professionals working for businesses, the goal for us really is to get people to do things differently. And that's a lot different than just knowing stuff. So when we frame it like that, it really changes the dynamic of what our role and responsibility is and what designing a learning experience might even look like. So then my next final question, or my final question, is what happens when learners are not engaged? So we kind of built on a few things. We talked about learning engagement. We've talked about, why are we still talking about learning engagement? What's the role of learning? What are our jobs? What's the difference between knowing stuff and behavior change? But what is that danger, risk, threat? What is it? What happens when learners aren't engaged? So this can be anything from you talking about kind of theory of the potential to actual examples that you've seen with unengaged learners. So that's the question. use the chat. What happens when learners are not engaged? I'm going to take a drink of water and give you guys just a second to get in some of those answers. All right, so the question is, what happens when learners are not engaged? I'm curious to see what you're going to share back with me. Some really good answers to all the previous questions, so I appreciate all of the effort. Good, yeah, so staff, they can often not see a path forward. Yeah. They expect spoon feeding. Yeah, you're exactly right. Turnover, retention drop, recruitment costs, stagnant workforce with no drive. Thank you, Haley. Daniel, impacts retention. Yep. Investment in learning is wasted. Really good point. If you're talking about ROI, right, then you should be concerned with those learners being engaged or not. Monica, they don't develop and they resent the time they lost. And I like how you put it in parentheses, kind of calling out that word, because they do see it as lost or wasted time. Like, why am I having to sit here and listen to this person talk, or, you know, watch this, you know, huge PowerPoint? Carly, they don't feel excited about what they're learning. And that's exactly right. They don't feel excited. I think you should be excited to learn. And if you're not excited to learn, you know, what are the dangers of that, right? Lydia, when learners are not engaged, they don't hold on to the concepts. Yeah, exactly. There's no context to learning, so it's meaningless. And then everything is done the same as last year. Monica, you're exactly right. In I've seen in organizations, I think compliance training is like a really, really easy one to pick on. Most of you have probably had to play some role in compliance training. But like, if it's the same every single year, I've been in more than one organization where I've found cheat sheets where people just have answers written down and they pass them out every time that, and this is like department leaders, because they're just trying to get through it. They're just trying to survive the expectation rather than engage with it and do something different because of it. Nothing changes, no behavior change, no ownership of their own journey. Yep. Thank you, Russell. You're exactly right. Joe, high attrition. Yep. Demotivated, negative perception of the company externally. Yep. Poor experience all around. Awesome answers. Thank you guys so much for your engagement and really great conversation. I think you guys all are in the right mindset. So when it comes then to engagement, and I'm not gonna linger like for a super long time here. I hope that these are terms that you've seen before, but there's really three kinds of engagement: cognitive engagement, emotional engagement, and behavioral engagement. And so just for a moment, I want to talk a little bit about these three engagement types. So cognitive, cognitive engagement, it's that attention, the effort, the persistence, you know, the time that it takes on task. So getting somebody cognitively engaged, right, means that we do have their attention. And a lot of you guys were talking about that in your chats. You know, if they're not excited, if they're not engaged, they're not going to be paying attention. They're not going to be excited to be there. And that's where, you know, if you read the write-up for this, it's like, is it Gen Z or Gen Z, right? So that's where you get people who are just like snoring in the back of the class, right? If they're not cognitively engaged, you're going to see that. Emotional engagement then is about how they feel about their learning. There's that tie, right? Is there an excitement? Is there some sort of context that's been created to where they feel something about the learning experience? Do they feel good or positive? Do they feel worried that if they don't learn something, they're going to lose their job? Or if it's some sort of safety training, you know, is there some sort of emotion behind, you know, what loss or what doing something wrong feels or looks like? And the last part of that is the behavioral engagement. And this is when you actually have, right, things like people showing up to a live training. If you've had to assign something, what's the completion rate? Are people actually getting it done? Do they show up to a training prepared? Do they participate? That's that behavioral thing. And are they doing things differently after, right? That gets into more of the measurement side of things, but can we see something done differently because of the learning experience? So these are really the 3 engagement types. Now you can spend a lot of time and create plans and try to attack each one of these. But I want to fill you in on the big secret today, is that there is one approach, one tactic that you can pull out that's going to hit all 3 of these in one go. And that is social learning. So if you're taking notes, I don't expect that, but if you are taking notes, this needs to be the big bullet point that you put on your page. Social learning. Social learning checks off all 3 boxes of cognitive, emotional, and behavioral engagement. So if that's something you're looking to do, if you're trying to get your learners engaged, my key recommendation is that you should start experimenting with social learning. So if you're saying, okay, great, I've heard you say it now, Nate, what does that actually mean? Well, you're in the right place, because I'm going to talk about exactly what social learning is. Now, social learning or social learning theory is not new. This is a quote from Albert Bandura, and this is going back to like the 50s and 60s. So this is like time tested. It's not young or new radical theories. This is something that's been out for a while. But social learning emphasizes the importance of observing, modeling, and imitating the behaviors, attitudes, and emotional reactions of others. So my son, my 9-year-old this week is back in school. It's the first week of school. So a bunch of 8 and 9-year-olds together in a classroom for 3rd grade, and looking at what is going on. And already within a couple of days, you start to see sort of changes in behavior, right? Because he's around other people that he's not been around. He's in a differently structured environment, and so social learning has a very quick impact on even little small things if you're paying attention. So social learning, though, for us, what can that look like, or what does that look like? And that's where we're going to kind of take this. So we want to make sure that we're emphasizing the importance of observing, modeling, imitating the behaviors, attitudes, and emotional reactions of others. And I use the big word is experimentation. Social learning is going to look different in every organization. Now, you may have some of the same tactics, but based on your organization, it's going to look and feel different. And that's because of culture. Culture plays a big role in all of this. Your company's culture, where it is today, versus maybe where you want it to be, or even where like the organization wants it to be, there may be a gap there. Or you might be where you want to be from a cultural standpoint, but that culture is really set and embedded. And because of that, there are norms and expectations around the culture. All of those things, that's going to have an impact on what social learning looks and feels like. So that's why I've always used this term of experimentation. It's looking at things, examples. I'll share, a few examples. If you want to talk about more examples, definitely feel free. Add me on LinkedIn if we're not already connected. Send me questions. I'll chat with you. I'll get you in touch with other people. But experimentation is key, because it's not a one size fits all. And that's really what I want to lean into. Is you have to be willing to take some risks to say, okay, I like this. It didn't work exactly the way I wanted it to, so I'm going to tweak it and do something different. You have to be ready and prepared to take a few risks. And also, I would say make sure that you're having those conversations with anybody else in the business that has expectations around the learning process. So if you have stakeholders, if you have someone's a C-level person and they want amazing things to come from your department, let them know, like, hey, we're trying some new things out. We're doing some experimentation because we want to see how people in our business respond. We know that this is working for some other businesses, but we want to see how people respond and see if we're going to do some measurement and we'll provide you with that feedback, but we may be tweaking things. So be prepared to experiment, but don't let it scare you. I think if you communicate clearly what you're doing, you get some small examples, you take some sample groups, get feedback, learn from your business how it responds, but experimentation and that readiness and willingness to experiment, I believe, are key. So then this leads me to another question for you guys, and that is, how do you learn outside of work? So remove yourself from your business expectations. If you need to learn something for yourself, how do you learn outside of work? So in the chat, what I'd love to see is like, what, are there resources? Are there methods? Or, what is that best practice? If I don't know, if your door handle breaks in your house, how are you going to figure out how to fix that door handle? So that's the question. Hit me up in the chats and let me know what your answer is. How do you learn outside of work? I'll give you guys just a moment. I'm going to drink a little bit more coffee. Do the same as people are starting to type in some answers here. All right. Thank you, Monica. Monica is saying that she learns by doing. So trial and error. So that goes right back to that last visual, right, of experimenting. Videos and asking others. Yeah. So Joe, when you say videos, where are you getting those videos from? Steph, TikTok. Yes, TikTok's big. Learning new hacks, recipes, and new ideas. Very good. Google search. Yep. You got to go Google it. Learn through repetition. The key is motivation, belief that it's worth doing, right? So if your door doesn't close, you probably have some people in your house that are worried that people are going to break in. So there's some motivation for you to learn and get that door fixed. You need some form of feedback. Literally someone tells you. I think, yeah, feedback is very key. Always a search on YouTube from Alex. Yep. Short and sharp how-to videos. Do it again and again if needed until you get it. Very good, Stephen. Jennifer, YouTube. Yep. Videos and sometimes Reddit. Yep. Reddit. I mean, if you Google, a lot of times the answers that you're going to find are going to come from Reddit, right? Joe, videos on social media and Google YouTube searches. Thank you for answering that. Yeah, good. Russell, virtual coffees with others. Ooh, really good, Russell. With other L&Ders, reading posts on LinkedIn, books, videos, etc. Awesome. Very good. You've just now been given a list of things you can experiment with. So, can you create a database of videos that people can search for? Can you, and I really like this idea that Russell shared, can you set up virtual coffees within your business for people to just connect and learn from each other? Or sharing, create a way for people to share like their top tips and post it within your organization. Yeah, Steph is saying yes, discussion, open forums where you can ask questions. Yeah, you need that kind of safe environment where you can ask questions. I know, I'm almost at my year anniversary at Thrive, and asking questions, man, I don't know what I would do if I didn't feel comfortable asking questions, because there's a lot to learn when you start a new job, right? There's a lot to know. And if you don't have that sort of area that maybe a community, we are using Google products. Other people have Microsoft Teams. Some have Slack or whatever other tools. If you can set up groups where people can just ask questions, like no judgment, ask questions, get answers, I think that's a great idea. Have used ChatGPT. Yep. Hashtags. Yep. Audiobooks, series on podcasts. Yeah. I'm consuming a lot of Blinkist right now, or Blinks on Blinkist. So all of those things are good. So again, this is really my trick, is getting you to answer and do some of the work here for me. If you look at the comments right now, these are things that you can try to replicate within your business. So take some notes, and look at this. But this is really where my mind is around learning. And it's this concept of the democratization of learning. meaning that, it's the power is back in the hands of the people, that it's no longer institutions and this power structure of teacher holds all the knowledge, all the power, and they disseminate down to everybody. That method has been just shattered over the last, I don't know, maybe 5-10 years, but even going back longer to the kind of the birth of YouTube, Googling stuff, etc. And then I think Steph is the one that threw out the word TikTok. I know as soon as the pandemic hit, that's when I started engaging with TikTok, and my mind was blown by how much content was being created and how much I could learn just through short form videos that were very informal. I love history. There is a lot of great people doing all sorts of different history, all sorts of how-tos, everything from fixing stuff to life hacks, etc. It's all out there, and it's easy to consume. It's short form, and that's really what we're talking about. The democratization of learning means that the power and the responsibility has been basically, the roles have been flipped. And I'll talk about what that means for us. I'll get to that. So if you're wondering, well, what does that mean for the role of someone in L&D? I will get to that, because we still have a point and we still have a purpose. So let me get to that. Just trust me, we'll get there. I'll share with you a few stats. First one is that 86% of US viewers say they often use YouTube to learn new things. And I don't doubt that. We're seeing that in the chat. You guys do it. I do it personally. Great example. Last week on a family vacation, we were driving back and started having car issues. It was a serpentine belt that has to do with charging the battery, running the air conditioner. It was hot, and we're in the middle of nowhere. I was able to make it to a place where you can buy auto parts, so an O'Reilly's, and I YouTubed the problem, figured out how to fix it, bought the parts. Thankfully, they lent me a few tools that I didn't have, and I was able to fix my car back and get back on the road. I was covered in grease and dirt, so very happy to make it home and get a shower, but I did it. And it cost us, 45 minutes, 50 minutes, but we were able to get back on the road. I did that because of YouTube. And if it had not had the video tutorial, I wouldn't have known what I was doing. So I went from being a novice to, I won't say mastery, but to being able to execute something within a very short period of time. And it gave me the confidence that I could do it as well. Russell, thank you for that, for your answer about the 1 hour sessions to be explored. That's, again, a great idea. Topics coming from colleagues. So another good idea if you're taking some notes, writing things down to jot down. A report from December of 2022, which is not that far back, found that the hashtag Learn on TikTok had over 450 billion views. That's huge. And that's December of 2022. We're now in August of 2023. I don't have the stats on how much that's increased, but that's massive. That is a massive amount of people who are going on TikTok and learning things, or even creating the content and sharing with others. So if you're thinking like, does TikTok, why are people talking about it? Is it important? Is it changing things? It is. It is important. It is changing things. People are learning. They're sharing. This is all what I'm talking about, the democratization of learning. The next stat, microlearning has been reported to improve learning transfer by 17% compared to traditional learning methods. Now, I'm going to put a little asterisk on microlearning. It's not that I have like a big bone to pick with it, but as with everything in the learning and development industry, there's always a lot of hype. And so, microlearning is one that I personally have felt for a long time was just so overhyped. It's not overhyped because I don't agree that it can be beneficial, but it was overhyped in that it's not a magic bullet, and that there are some things that need a different format than a microlearning. So let's say if you're learning a very complex process, a single microlearning course on that is not going to get you to mastery. Now, maybe many microlearnings that are put into some sort of a pathway or a guided experience will. So it's just being really clear with what we're talking about with microlearning. But this stat proves what the hype is really all about. And there is a reason that there should be hype around microlearning. 17% increase in learning transfer to me is significant. If you told me today that I could get even a 10% increase if I shifted to a certain method or modality, I would be very, very interested in doing that. Because again, it's that knowledge transfer that then leads to behavior change. But you can't get the behavior change if you've not taken care of the knowledge transfer. So when we're thinking about why does YouTube, why does Reddit, why is TikTok, why is learning happening there for people outside of work? If we're thinking about that, right, people are learning more because of that short form, quick hit, bite size, easy to digest learning content. In addition, it generates, and we're still talking about microlearning, it generates 50% more engagement. So again, going back to the beginning of our time today, talking about engagement, 50% more engagement while reducing development costs by 50% and increasing development speed by 300%. So these are some stats definitely you can go back to your business with and say, hey, I want to generate 50% more engagement. I wanted to drop our development costs by 50% and increase the speed that we develop employees by 300%. Here's micro learning that I want to purchase, or here's what we want to do, in our department. This is that sales slide deck for you. It has a huge impact on people. So micro learning is worth the hype. I just want to make sure my caveat is only there to say some people will then mistake that and say that everything can be done in 1 3-minute video. And that's not what we're talking about. So just want to be really clear on the advice that I give. But it is super effective, super powerful, and you should be implementing it in your organization. 82% of educational institutions, and this is universities, colleges, etc., are starting to implement it, and they're seeing increasing in student achievements. So it's even working its way into traditional educational institutions. That was one of the most surprising stats for me personally, seeing how universities are beginning to kind of, wrestle with or grapple with the idea of the democratization of learning and short form video sort of content for their courses. That leads me to a bigger conversation about then, so what do we do? And it comes down to this term, UGC. And if you don't know, or if you've not heard of the term UGC before, no worries. It means user-generated content. User-generated content. So exactly what we're talking about on TikTok, exactly what you're seeing on Reels, on Instagram, right? Or you're seeing, you can see it on YouTube in its traditional form, but YouTube also now offers shorts. We're also seeing this happen, but that user-generated content is really the key. So going back to my encouragement earlier about experimentation, what do we experiment with, Nate? If you're asking that, I hope you are. What do we experiment with? It's UGC. UGC is what I'm going to encourage you to start experimenting with, and start experimenting with it ASAP. That's another great acronym. As soon as possible. So user-generated content, and UGC at Thrive is a big kind of key differentiator for us. It's where we, I would say, kind of double down on the science of learning and what we see really progressive and impactful organizations doing. So we have a few examples of a few of our partners, a few of our customers, Vita Coco, Homebase, Decium, who are all doing a fantastic job of leveraging UGC and making a real positive impact. So Daniel's asking the question, so getting learners to contribute through producing their own content. And so if that's the question, the answer is yes. So let me talk a little bit about UGC and kind of where it's at. UGC is tapping into that same concept that we've been chatting about, the democratization of learning. You have learning experts all throughout your business. You have people who, they are the knowledge base, that center of sort of knowledge power within your organization. You have influencers, and I'll use that term. I'm going to steal it from social media and bring it back to our businesses. You have influencers in your business. These are the people that I'm saying yes. Ask them to record a short video. Let's pick customer service. How would you handle a difficult customer? Maybe ask the business, hey, who are some employees, some frontline employees who are really good at handling, stressful, upset customers. Have them record, say, hey, keep it under 3 minutes or keep it under 2 minutes, but just tell us and record a video and send it in on how you would deal with a difficult customer. Maybe the question's even more specific. A customer that comes in is upset about XYZ, whatever that is for your business. Have them record videos and then share that. If you don't have a learning platform like Thrive that allows you to kind of natively do that, there are ways that you can share that. Get creative. That's what I always tell people to do. But get creative. There are ways that you can share links, etc. Build a database, even if you have to do it kind of old school. But yes, I'm absolutely talking about asking people to share content, create content and share it. Who are those influencers in your business? Let's start right at the top. Your CEO, your executive, your president, the different C levels within the business. Why wouldn't they want the opportunity to influence the rest of the business and record a short video saying, hey, here's something I learned this week, and then make a 2-minute video, them telling the organization what they learned this week, maybe what book they're reading, maybe something they learned while dealing with a customer. Share those thoughts, get it recorded, pass that out throughout the business. You want to see people get engaged, people get excited, and really see, side note, I'm really passionate about workplace culture. And I sincerely believe that people at the top are responsible for it. If they really want to have a positive, engaged workforce, then they have to be engaged with the workforce, and you have to see them as influencers that can disseminate that information down to the rest of the business. And it doesn't have to be groundbreaking, earth-shattering, complicated stuff. It can be just simple things, simple ideas, simple principles. I'm reading this book, and one of the key things I learned or that got me excited was this one key principle. I encourage you to pick up a copy of this book if you want to, continue to build your career here at our organization. Easy, quick video. They can do it, before they, go from one meeting to the next meeting. The same thing with any other leaders in your business. Who do people look up to in your business? There are always like superstars within any organization that people will, talk about and say, oh, Janet in this department is a rock star. We love Janet, right? Well, ask Janet. Hey, Janet, what are a few key things that have helped you be successful in your career here? And get Janet to share that back with the business. That's what I'm talking about with UGC. Can it be more complicated? Can you start, if you pick up that some people have a knack for this, can you start to ask people to share a little bit more complicated things? Absolutely. But we're talking about then democratizing learning within your business. Because ultimately, this is what it comes down to. We are all being asked to do more with less. The biggest change, I think, for me during that pandemic era was that the expectations of what I would produce on a day-to-day basis, and the same thing for my team, just kept increasing. It didn't slow down. It didn't shrink. We were being asked to do more with less. And I don't need stats for this. I think if I asked you to raise your hands and I could see you, every single person would have their hand raised. Yes, Nate, I agree. I've been asked to do more with less. So if you're being asked to do more with less, you have to think differently about how you get the more done with less effort, right? And UGC also checks that box. So good question, Daniel. How do you overcome the challenge of people feeling self-conscious about recording videos? My appearance, my voice, I don't have a professional background or lighting. Just reassure them they have to share is more important. Yes, it's that last piece. What you have to say is more important than all of that. And then remind them of how they learn. They're watching YouTube videos. They're watching, they're on TikTok. They're, doing, watching reels, whatever. They're already engaging with content that isn't high production value. And you have to remind people like what you have to say is important. And this is like speaking, I think to me, this is like speaking life into people. Like you are important. What you have to say matters. People listen to you. People care about what you have to say. It gives you an opportunity as a learning professional to really be a positive influence on somebody that already has high potential, and just to speak something awesome into their life. Like, you are valuable. What you have to say matters. We want to learn from you. There is nothing more powerful, and maybe the word I'm looking for is empowering, than to be told that. So yeah, I would encourage you, if you have somebody that's feeling self-conscious or whatever, be that person that kind of speaks positive things into their lives and reminds them of why their thoughts and opinions matter, and that their thoughts and opinions and their experiences outweigh high production, high quality. We're not trying to make a Hollywood movie here. We're trying to help people learn. That to me was also a big shift in my thought. I love to make really polished, high-end looking learning experiences, but it takes a lot of time to make those, a lot of effort, a lot of resources. And if we're being asked to do more with less, we just can't get it done. Plus, we know all of the benefits, right? We've already walked through all the benefits of sort of the UGC and social learning. So what that means then for us as learning professionals is that we have to embrace our roles as a content curator. So I told you I was going to kind of come back to this idea of like, if the democratization of learning has happened, or is happening, or if we kind of kickstart that in our business, then what does that do? Am I out of a job? And the answer is no. You're still the content curator. And I always go back to this analogy of somebody that works at a museum. I think that it would have been over 10 years ago. I went to the British Museum in London, and they had an exhibition on Hadrian. So Roman Emperor Hadrian, he built Hadrian's Wall, which is on the border, kind of northern border between England and Scotland. And so it was this whole exhibition, huge, like massive, like statues and artifacts and all this stuff. And it just always dawned on me, like, whoever put this together did such a good job, but they didn't make any of this, right? They didn't carve that statue. They didn't, they didn't make that artifact. They didn't write, the recording of the history. They didn't make any of the things on display, but they arranged everything so that the experience I had while walking through that exhibition meant something. And it wasn't just a random assortment of objects. It was carefully crafted and curated so that my experience was the first thought, not the artifacts, my experience as a learner walking through, and it guided me through that. So if you're thinking about, I'm going to get a bunch of UGC, I'm going to get a bunch of content, your role then becomes being the curator. You have to think about yourself as working in a museum, and these are all your different artifacts. You're going to spend time arranging them, procuring them. And when I say procuring, it does mean that you may have to go ask somebody to do it for you, right? Just like a museum curator may say, I need to tell this part of the story and I don't have anything for it. And they're going to start phoning a friend, another museum. However, I don't know how that works. Call Indiana Jones, right? Bust out the whip, go find me an artifact. Or in your case, you're going to be Indiana Jones with the whip, and you're going to go chase somebody down and say, hey, I needed something that addresses this one particular point. Would you mind recording a video and just sending it over for me? That's really that role, kind of as our roles in learning and development evolve, and they will continue to evolve, is that we have to start seeing ourselves as a content curator. So think about yourself in that term, put on that museum curator hat, and go out there and create really engaging learning experiences using all sorts of different pieces of content. So it might be an HBR article that you found. It might be a YouTube video that you found. It might maybe a couple of pieces of content that your own employees have developed, and you putting it all together, and it creates a learning pathway that creates a really well thought out, engaging experience for the learner. So after all of that, those are the real main talking points. There's two learnings that I wanted to share. I'm not going to dive super deep into these, but I think they're worth mentioning because it does shape my thought going through this. So it was significant enough that I just wanted to share it as kind of like two bonus things. So there's two learnings that I encountered when I was developing this content. The first is it comes from China, and it's called guanxi. And I'm not trying to capitalize or tell you that you need to go implement guanxi in your business. So I don't want to get into like trying to poach somebody else's culture and traditions. I just thought this was very fascinating stuff, and it's definitely influencing the way I think about how we interact with each other. So closely intertwined with Confucian philosophy, guanxi holds that the self, so myself, extends to family, friends, and society to create a harmonious community. So guanxi implies an obligation that one has to another. In China, this belief, the belief is that the wheels of business are lubricated with guanxi. So guanxi is something in China that is more formalized than kind of what I am talking about, what I would say happens, in Western culture. But I think we see some similarities. And the similarities are these three things: reciprocity, social image or social currency, and emotional attachment. And these are the three things that really I think I kind of clung to, is that if you're thinking about going back to the title of this session, getting learners to smash the like buttons, right? It is that idea of reciprocity. When you get somebody, if so in Thrive, in our platform, you can heart a piece of content, you can share content, you can pin it like you do in Pinterest. We have these things natively built in because it's how people are used to interacting with content. So if you have that, then absolutely lean into it. If you don't, come talk to me or anybody else about Thrive. If that's something you want. If you have a way you can replicate that, right? Good. But it's this idea of reciprocity that it's that call to action that gets someone to do something that then builds this relationship, right? It builds on social currency as well, meaning that I'm doing something for you and you're going to do something for me. And it builds emotional attachment. So again, while researching, the science behind why clicking a like button actually works, and I think about my 9-year-old and why he goes back to these same YouTube content creators, there is absolutely with him, he feels like an obligation almost to now click the like button. He feels this attachment to that person that, hey, I'm supporting them by doing this, and they're teaching me, how to level up in Fortnite or Minecraft, right? That's what we're talking about. The like button on Facebook is clicked 3 billion times a day. That's a huge number. A huge number. 3 billion times a day, people are clicking like buttons. And so it just, again, these are learnings. They're not things that I'm saying you have to have absolute beliefs about, or I do yet. But I'm hoping to kind of just continue to feed your curiosity here. But when you think about the amount of times that people are clicking on the like button, and what does that mean? What does it mean if I post a picture of me and my family and someone clicks like? What does that imply? What does that mean? And I'm going to go back to those three things: the reciprocity, the social currency, and the emotional attachment. Am I building that with them? Are they building it with me? When I post something on LinkedIn and I see that you have liked it, do I get a little rush of dopamine, and now I associate your name with positive things? Science says yes. So that's really kind of what we're getting to. So why do we do this? We do this to maintain relationships. When we favorite and like each other's posts, we add value to the relationship, reinforce that closeness. We also create a reciprocity effect. We feel obliged to give back to people who have given to us, even in a small way. We want to even up the scales. So again, this is scientific research and all of this. So I'm just throwing this out. If you have a like button, a heart button where people can like content, or even if you just have a place where people can share comments on content and you ask them to do it. So I'm telling you to copy YouTube and like this video, or write a comment down below what your thoughts are, or email. Here's a quick link. Email me your thoughts on this topic. I encourage you to start doing that one little activity on your content. Leverage trusted experts. And I'm not going to go back and completely beat up this topic, but you've got influencers in your business, lean in them, leverage them, build that social currency. It will help continue to build those relationships throughout your business as well, and help people be interconnected that are working in different silos. The second learning, and we're just at our end of time, is the cognitive effective relationship model. And what we are talking about is like the cognitive piece, right? Learner motivation, the effective piece here, positive emotions or negative emotions, learning attachment, overall satisfaction, and the end behavior is that like, share, comment. Ultimately, obviously, we want behavior change, right? So if we're looking at this sort of model, we're thinking about, okay, what is the motivation for the learner? I think earlier when we're talking about this, the what's in it for me, what is in it for the learner? All right. How can we then lean into positive emotions? Or I would even say, how can we lean into negative emotions, right? If it is something that's scary, if there is risk involved, how can we lean into that emotions to get people to feel attached and overall satisfied with the end product of them learning how to not do that bad thing? Or if it's something that generates something really positive, how do we create that positive buzz? And that's going to lead to the behavior of like, share, comment, but it's also going to start to lead to our end goal, which is behavior change, what we're all wanting to see within our business. So there we go. Your takeaways for today, after spending an hour inside Nate Rowlan's head and sharing your thoughts with me as well, is your organization should absolutely care about learner engagement. Hopefully you've been given enough ammo today that you can go back and make them care if they don't. You need user-generated content, or UGC. Start using that. Start experimenting with it. You don't have to switch all of your learning to UGC, but start looking for things or areas, topics, or ways that you can start to incorporate that in your business. You can tap in the power of social learning. So look for those social, those people within your business that are that have some clout, that have buy-in, that people respect. Start tapping into them and getting them to share things. It could also, and I'll just add a little caveat or side note here on point number 3. If you've created even like a live event, so let's say you have an in-person session or a virtual session, can you get one of your senior leaders to share about this event that's happening and give like a little snippet, right? That's another way to tap into that social learning. It's like, hi, my name's Bob from Bob's Doors, and I'm really excited about, learning how to make better doors. So join this course, right? And Bob's your CEO. Now everybody's like, ooh, Bob's really excited about this. I want to be excited about it too. That's how it works. It's like really easy ways to kind of trick people into wanting to do something. And last but not least, you really should start embracing your role as a content curator. So let's say you're like, Nate, I don't know about UGC right now, but I do get the point that I can get pieces of learning content from other places. You have to see yourself as a content curator, not just throwing random crap in an LMS, but actually creating meaningful experiences with all those kind of disparate pieces of content that you're putting together. So craft meaningful experiences just like a good museum curator would do for your in-learners. Yeah. All right. That is get your learner to smash those like buttons. Thank you guys so much for the engagement you had today. I really appreciate it. On September 7th, we have another really big webinar coming up for the retail space. It's called Retail Revolution, Why Forward-Thinking L&D Leaders Are Moving to Thrive. We have we have several large brands that are going to join us. Decium, Dunelm, Fraser's Group, which I think is sort of connected to this mug that I have. Ann Summers, Missouri, which I get to work with on a daily basis, and Westmoreland, who have a whole TV show about what they've done. Anyway, some amazing customers that we get to work with, hear their stories, hear why they're switching to Thrive and what they're doing to be successful. We should always be learning new things and always copying from people who are finding success in doing things, right? So join us on September 7th. You can sign up and register, and you'll get a lot out of it, I promise. Thank you guys so much for your time today. I hope you have a great rest of your Thursday, a great weekend ahead. If you want to connect with me, please do that. Ask me questions. I am happy to keep engaging with you and talking about this topic. But until then, see you later.